Hello, Robin here at Toadstool Tarot. I just thought I'd jump on quick and do a little VR to hashtag my paranormal tarot story. I believe, unless I'm incorrect in this, that Justin Michael started this tag. If not, then you can post a correction in the comments below. First question, do you have a spiritual approach to the tarot? Not sure how to answer that. Um, I guess I feel that there's some sort of net of subconscious communication um, across the cosmos. I used to have a routine that when I would consult tarot cards, I was so fascinated and fixated on Pamela Coleman Smith that I would tap 3 times with my finger on the deck before I read the cards, as if to say, knock, 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 Pixie, are you there? Come help me with this. And guide me in my reading, my interpretation of these cards. I don't do that so much anymore, but I do sort of sit there quietly for a few seconds and focus on the question, my thoughts, the shuffling, until I feel like I've shuffled enough that the cards feel just right and I'm ready to begin. So I suppose that's, I don't know if that answers the question, my spiritual approach to the tarot. Number 2, why does tarot work for you? Well, tarot works for me because it supplies me with new perspectives on things that I'm considering and things that I haven't considered. If something's bothered me or I can't kind of decide for myself or get to the bottom of something where I feel like I need an opinion rather than going to a friend or an advisor or a therapist, I'll lay out the cards and this sort of random, maybe it's not random, selection or array of cards laid out before me give me a way to mentally focus in on some sort of mode of translation through pictures, images, symbols, ways to approach the situation that are not the usual route of approach. Perhaps something more contemplative or more thoughtful. It's also a good time to just kind of slow down your thought process and kind of meditate or focus in more on the situation at hand rather than just, responding knee jerk or, off the cuff, you know, randomly, to give it a little more thoughtful consideration. Number 3, what is the most profound experience you had with tarot? Uh, hmm. Probably in designing my own first tarot deck, and I have been sharing this a lot lately. Back in May and June of 2020, I decided, after much procrastination, to actually sit down and tackle creating my own tarot deck. And I used other decks as suggestive models for my deck, but as I was studying various images of each card from different decks, certain symbols sort of floated to the top or made me think these, for me, are the most personal or most important elements in this card. And so they need to appear in my deck. And just the whole experience of creating a deck, which I encourage everyone to try, was profound and revealing, and continues to reveal new things and new insights in terms of the tarot. Number 4, what was your most powerful experience with intuition? I can't think of a specific story to relate. I'm sure there have been instances where the drawing feels right on the mark, and so much so that you wonder, if there isn't more to it than a random toss of cards. In fact, on more than one occasion where I've drawn cards from different decks for the same question, one following another, or even from the same question, at least one of the cards in a 3-card spread has shown up again in the second draw, or the second pass, or the third pass. So that's kind of a powerful experience with intuition, I suppose. Number 5, what was the most mind-blowing paranormal experience of your life? I.e., ghost stories, synchronicities. Oh dear. Well, the one that comes to mind is when I was very little, about 3 or 4 years old. We lived in Vandalia, Ohio. And I had my own bedroom, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and my bed was right under a window. And I don't recall why, but for some reason I stood up in my bed and turned around and looked out the window. And there on the other side of the pane of glass was a very large face looking in at me. It was frightening. It looked like a moose, a wild beast, a moose. Perfectly still, not moving. And I think at the time I thought, I must be dreaming. And I probably heard somewhere that if you think you're dreaming, pinch yourself. And if you can feel the pinch, you know you're not dreaming. And I recall pinching the back of my leg and feeling the pinch. I thought, okay, I'm not dreaming. And I kept sort of blinking at the image to see if it would move. It didn't move. And then finally it blinked back. I went running into my mom's room to wake her up, to have her come and look. And I was terrified. And of course, she put me back to bed. She was sort of upset at having been awakened. And she reassured me that, there was nothing there, everything was fine. Of course, I wasn't convinced. I slept the rest of the night under my covers. But I never did find out what happened there. Now, years later, I read books on UFOs and aliens, and read in one of them that sometimes extraterrestrials, they have sort of some degree of mind control and mask their appearance to people who see them, and are often seen not as themselves, but as animals like owls and deer. And when I heard that about the deer, I just, my jaw dropped. I thought, oh my God, was this an alien encounter? I don't know. I have no idea. I was a child. I'm convinced it was not a dream. I was awake. I saw this thing, whatever it was, looked like a moose to me. Might have been a masked visual of something else. I asked my mother in later years about it, and she didn't remember much, but she said, there's no way a moose could have been outside your window. There was a little fenced-in area out there that was too small for something like that to get in unless it had been lowered in from above. You couldn't just wander in. It was a closed-in fence with a gate and a very small area. It wasn't like something that could be jumped over by something that large. And I thought, oh, well, could it have been some frat boys playing a joke or something? But there was no noise. It was perfectly silent. Wouldn't you think they'd be giggling or laughing? And why would they do that in some child's bedroom in the middle of the night in a house they didn't know? It just makes no sense. On top of that, we lived about a mile or less from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which I later came to find out was where they supposedly housed the remains found at Roswell, the Roswell UFO crash and alien body recovery. So this was all very intriguing to me, and that's, I guess, the most mind-blowing paranormal experience of my life. I've often considered going through hypnotic regression to recount in more focus, what happened or what I saw. But I'm a little afraid, and I'm also a little untrusting of hypnotherapists. Number 6, have you ever seen a UFO? Twice. Once in my early years in New York City, late summer, I was reclining on a rooftop in lawn chairs with a friend of mine in Soho. We're just watching the night sky. It's about 1:30 in the morning on a weekend night. And you could see stars, and I saw pinpoints of white light transgress, not sure the right word there, move quickly from the west to the east across the sky. And they moved in patterns like the flight of birds. You know how birds will, some will fly a little bit ahead, or some will cross over, some will fall back. That kind of interaction. These were dots of white light. They made no sound. They were faster than birds could move. I told my friend, hey, look, do you see that? Isn't that a UFO? And I started counting them, and there was a cluster, but because they were moving within and around each other and moving so fast, I couldn't count them all, but they were I counted between 5 and 7, and in the amount of time that I counted from 5 to 7, they'd already gone all the way across the sky. So that's pretty fast. That was the first time. The second time was, maybe a decade ago, 15 years ago, something like that. I was returning from a visit to my family in Pennsylvania, and I was waiting on the railroad track or platform at Hamilton Station in New Jersey. And I looked out across the sky and saw a plane go over in the distance, and behind the tail of the plane followed 3 dots of white light. I couldn't gauge the size or distance. They were relatively the same height or a little less than the thickness of the plane, and they were equidistantly behind the plane. It was not exhaust or anything like that. Just white lights, and I watched and watched and watched them. They moved with the plane, and then they just disappeared, vanished. I thought about mentioning it to other people on the platform, but these are strangers. I didn't talk to them. I did make a mental note, and I reported it later to MUFON in the event that anybody else might have made a report, that they would have a backup supporting their report. Number 7, what are the decks you are working with in the month of October? Well, I'm working with, and I just reviewed these, I just showed them in my most beautiful decks. I'm working with the Dream Keeper's Tarot, which is gorgeous. And the Lonely Dreamer Tarot, seems to be the month of the Dreamer. And the Taroko Bizarro. And the Trick or Tarot. So these are the decks I'm working with in October. And I do have walkthroughs of all these decks on my channel. The Trick or Tarot one I reviewed twice, and my more recent view got destroyed. I'm not going to review it again. I reviewed it the first time about a year ago, last Halloween, so if you're interested in a walkthrough, you can look at that. It's a shame the new one got corrupted and lost, because it was using my new camera, which is better than this one. I have an iPhone now, and the images were better focus. But I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, probably. I was having trouble because I had recorded the video on my iPhone and uploaded it from there. Older ones I've done here on my laptop and uploaded. And even though it appeared okay in my YouTube video channel listings, on my iPhone it indicated that there was some error in the file. And I mistakenly deleted the file, thinking, oh, I'm just deleting the video from my photo and video files, not from YouTube. But I was in the wrong place, and apparently it blanked and deleted it out of my YouTube channel. So now I only have the one in there from a year ago. But if you look back, around Halloween, you can see my walkthrough of Trick or Tarot. Anyway, I'm rambling now, and I hope everybody enjoys their Halloween month of October, and be interesting to see what other people's paranormal experiences are here in their tarot story questions. And thanks to Justin for this hashtag challenge. Till next time.